The CEO of one of the biggest AI companies in the world is meeting with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth today as the Pentagon threatens to essentially blacklist that company, Anthropic, from lucrative government contracts if the AI company doesn't lift its restrictions on how the military can use its technology. The Pentagon has a $200 million contract with Anthropic, and a source tells CNN that the company has concerns over two issues: AI-controlled weapons and mass domestic surveillance of American citizens. Let's talk about this with Jacob Ward. He is a technology journalist and host of the Rip Current podcast. He's also the author of the book, The Loop: How AI is Creating a World Without Choices and How to Fight Back. Jacob, the Pentagon here wants this company, Anthropic, to lift its restrictions for how the military uses its model. They want it to be able to be used for what's they're calling all lawful use. What are Anthropic's concerns with that?
Well, Brianna, this is a very unusual situation in my experience, because typically when government use of technology begins, that means that new restraints are going to be put onto that company. The companies typically, traditionally, just pull toward greater and greater capabilities, and the assumption is that the government and democracy will somehow dampen down the dangers here. What Anthropic is discovering is that they don't live in that world anymore. Suddenly they're dealing with a Defense Department that wants to be able to use their technology for whatever they want. And Dario Amodei, the CEO of this company, who has written very openly about his concerns that his technology and the industry in general could be misused for all sorts of authoritarian purposes, is specifically objecting to the possibility that we could be using this technology to surveil Americans en masse, or to create weapons that fire themselves and kill people without human intervention. Supposedly the trigger here for him in part was discovering that his work was in fact used in the capture of Nicolas Maduro through Anthropic's partner Palantir in a way that he didn't know anything about. He only found out about that the same way we all did. And it is this effort inside a company that is making this world-changing technology to try to impose some restrictions on that technology that now has him running afoul of the Pentagon, Brianna.
Can you talk a little bit about how AI maybe has been used for, say, controlling weapons and mass surveillance, and what concerns that usage has raised?
Well, according to the reports we're seeing, Anthropic's technology, which is the only company, by the way, that is allowed inside the most classified systems in the military, is being used for all sorts of things that it's supposedly great at, including things like cyber offense. You need to be able to exchange digital fire with an opponent in nanosecond timescales that human beings could never be part of. That's an incredible use of it. But at the same time, what AI makes possible is things like, there's technology that we've seen, research that we've seen that could turn a Wi-Fi router into an essentially a radar inside a home that could tell you exactly where somebody was at any given time. It is the pattern recognition power of AI, something that a team of people, in a vast building, or a bunch of people with headphones on in a van could never imagine. As a surveillance technology, it is incredible. In fact, it's so incredible that Dario Amodei actually wrote recently, he said here, "Powerful AI looking across billions of conversations from millions of people could gauge public sentiment, detect pockets of disloyalty forming, and stamp them out before they grow." That's the kind of concern that Amodei has here.
Unbelievable. I mean, when you talk about the possibilities here. So the way this threat would kind of operate is Axios is reporting that the Pentagon would deem that they're threatening to deem Anthropic what's called a supply chain risk. That would essentially blacklist Anthropic from having government contracts. It's an approach that's usually taken with companies that are extensions of foreign adversaries like China or Russia. If Anthropic doesn't play ball here, because as you say, they're unique in that they kind of plug into this top secret nature of the U.S. systems, is there another company that can provide those same AI services and would be willing to capitulate on these potential human rights and civil liberties concerns?
Well, according to the reporting that we're seeing right now, Anthropic is the one that they want to use. And one defense official told Axios that the reason we are talking to these guys is because they are so good. That is the problem that the Defense Department is facing. But while you say, Anthropic is unique, it's not entirely unique, and it has some very close competitors. You have Google, you have Meta, and you have xAI, which is Elon Musk's company, all of them have are in line for this possible contract, and at least one of them, and according to Axios, that's XAI, that's Elon Musk's company, has said they can use it without any safeguards whatsoever. They won't be bringing any of this, internal hand wringing to it. They'll say, you go ahead and use it in any way you want. And it may be that could cost Anthropic this $200 million contract unless the Defense Department figures out that technology is irreplaceable truly. But at this point, the heat is on in terms of the competition technologically. And so it seems to me that this is a real pickle that Dario Amodei has gotten into. You are worried about the use of your technology. You're trying to impose what you consider some ethical constraints on it. And that suddenly could cost you a $200 million contract. This is that thing where, the rubber meets the road when you try to be an ethical business leader. In the end, we're talking here just broadly here, Brianna, about like who controls AI and under what terms are they going to? All of these stories are basically one big story about the future of this technology and who is going to control it. And I think what could happen next is you could see somebody with fewer scruples, fewer ethical qualms, stepping up to the mic and saying, I'm going to go ahead and give you whatever you need here.
Yeah, that does seem like it would be inevitable, certainly at some point, if not this point. Jacob Ward, great to speak with you. Thank you for breaking that down.